Hey guys, welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to go through our very first life management tool called the Holiday Planner. Now, one of the worst things about going on a holiday that has been financially unplanned, okay, or unplanned financially, I think is what I was trying to say, is that you get there and it turns out you don't have enough money. Okay, the second thing is that you come back from holiday and realize you've spent more money than you wanted to. Worst thing. So what this tool allows you to do is to quickly and easily plan your expenses. Now I've created this for a 2-month holiday. Feel free to extend that. And what we're going to be looking at first is the first sheet here on the left, as you can see. Okay? Now you can fill this in as you go while you're on holiday, or you can fill it in beforehand and it'll give you an approximation. It's not going to be exact, but that's not the point. You just want it to be an approximation of your cost. So if you put your values in and you only want to spend $2,000 and it comes out as $10,000, well then you need to change something. And vice versa. I think vice versa is actually better. Your trip was 10,000, you ended up only spending 7, which means you have another 3 to go. You know, just that peace of mind knowing that you're going to have enough. Now, let's go through the different parts of this sheet. So the first two are just dates and days. Feel free to change that. It's going to be different for everybody. You can do it one day at a time. You can do it weekly. You can do it monthly. I leave it up to you. Just use the fill handle to complete the data. So now we're just going to skip the middle part. We're going to go straight to the totals. We'll get to the expenses a little bit later. Now you got two types of totals. The first total, as you can see here, represents the total expense for that day or for that week or whatever it may be, depending on your one. Okay? The next one is the accumulated total. Now what this means is your total expenses for that trip as the days go by. So as you can see on day 1, we've spent 2,070, and by the 25th, you spent 4,250 as an example. Okay? So you can really see how it's growing, that either you're spending too much or too little, and so on. Now let's look at the middle section, known as the expense types. Okay? I've filled in 5 with just some common ones: accommodation, flights, food, public transport, and entertainment. There are another 5 slots which I haven't filled out. Just feel free to change how many of these that you want, depending on your type of holiday. And all you have to do is place a value in here, anywhere you want. And Excel will automatically calculate the entire thing for you, and it's effortless. Okay? Now, as you can see, the totals have this type of coloring. Now, what this is called is conditional formatting. I didn't go into the cell and just change the color. Now, conditional formatting we didn't do, but this is a good way for you guys to see some other things that you can do with Excel, okay, for maybe some possible later courses. Now, as you can see, the colors are different. Now, in the total section, you have some yellows, some oranges, some reds, and so on. Now, what Excel does with conditional formatting is, depending on the value, if it's a high value or a low value, it's going to give it a certain color. So in our case, all the high values are going to be red, and all the low values are going to be green. Okay, and the more different types of values you have, the more different colors you have. Okay, now one way I can demonstrate this quickly is by doing this. Okay, now let's go all the way to the end. Now as you can see, it's like a rainbow. The lowest values are green, and as you get to the end, as it gets higher and higher, it becomes red. Okay, so it's a great visual tool where you don't really need to look at the value, you just look at the color and say, wow, something's happening there. Okay, really useful. Now in the accumulated total column, we have the same thing, but this time it's a different type of conditional formatting. And what Excel does is it uses the length of that cell to represent how high the value is. So as you can see from the way it fills it in, our lowest value is 2,070. And as you scroll down, it gets bigger and fills in more of the cell till eventually we reach the maximum. So really, really cool feature. Now at the bottom here, you'll see some totals. Now all I've done is taken the sum total of each of the columns. This is just so you can see that how much you've spent for that particular type of expense. Very, very useful. So now that we're done with this section, let's go over to the graphs, okay? And we have two graphs that I've designed. The first one is the accumulated expenses. Now what this is connected to this one, okay? And all it does is it shows your progression over time, but visually, of course. Okay, as you can see, if your graph turns out something like this, okay, it means that you've spent all your money, basically in the first section. And the opposite is true. If you're progressing really, really low and your budget is up here, well then you have heaps more money to spend. Okay, all that money, you have whatever, another $3,000-4,000 to spend, which is great. Okay, now the next one is the pie graph. What this is based on the sum totals of each of the expense types. Now what this will allow you to do is really see where you're spending the most money. Okay, as you can see here, we're spending most of our money, over 50%, 52% in fact, on just hotels and motels. Then our next one is flights, food, and then you have all the other little ones, which would be negligible in this case. Okay, so it really allows you to see, wow, I'm spending too much money here or too little here, and so on. So a great tool to map with. So have some fun with this, you guys. Experiment, see how you go, add new columns, do new graphs, do different types of dates, and so on. Just go nuts. The sky's the limit. This is your opportunity to really experiment. Okay, and then if you screw up the template, just download it again and try again. No problem. Just try again and just have fun with it. Alright guys, that's it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.